I love everything that you just said. With keeping that in mind, for parents who are watching, and even people who are not parents, but who care about what's happening to this country, starting with what they're doing to children, where should they focus their efforts first? Especially for people who care but don't have children. Like, should they be going to school board meetings, county board meetings? Should they be running for office? Where do you think, now that people are finally understanding what's happening, how they've been conditioned for fear, which is actually being conditioned to be silent,
Mhm.
where can they start exercising their courage, and what issues should they be tackling first, in your opinion?
I'll start with the issue. The issue is easy. What you do is a little harder because it depends on your personality, your natural skill set. Everybody can do something, but it may not be. Maybe they go, look, I don't like to speak. I can't do what Nicole and Alvin's doing. I can't get on camera. I don't do that. But that's okay. If you don't, like, I know this one guy, he's brilliant. The way he knows how to foyer, the way he knows how to crunch the information, and the way he just keeps at it. I didn't have the patience to do that, but he does, right? So, but he couldn't do what you and I are doing right now, right? It would freak him out. So I'll go to the action, but let's start back. Your second question, what's the issue? So whether you have kids or not, you should be in this fight because you're going to have grandkids, and where your kids going to live, who's going to be their friends, who they're going to marry, who are they going to date, who's going to hire them, who are they going to hire? I hear this all the time. I'm sure you do too. Oh, thank God my children's a senior. Oh, thank God they graduated. I'm like, did they leave Earth? Did they leave this country? They don't live here anymore? They think that the problem that you and I are fighting stays in K through 12. That's the training ground. That's the minor leagues. They train the kids to go out into your world and destroy your world and your children's world. They can't go get a job in one of these ESG woke corporations without admitting that a man can get pregnant. So you can't say, thank God my children are out, because it actually impacts your entire family, because these kids leave and become revolutionists. Like I said, that's what all the Red Guard and everything's about. So the issue, if you have kids in school, if you don't have kids in school, then you should either find a group and lend your talents, donate, or go to school boards and speak up, because you don't have kids, but you're paying, right? You're a taxpayer. If you have kids in schools, the first thing you have to do before you can tackle any issue is you have to recognize that you've been brainwashed first. Because if you go in and you try to take action and you're not aware of this, and I'm going to explain what that means. You have to understand the concept of language contamination. Because if you don't understand that and you go in and fight, they're going to give you this load of language and you're going to think it's not so bad. It sounds okay. I don't know what I'm fighting. This is not what Alvin told me. This is not what I read in Courageous Habit. So language contamination, here's the easiest way to describe it. They use your vocabulary, but not your dictionary. Okay? They use your vocabulary, but not your dictionary. So they'll say, all we're doing is teaching empathy. What's wrong with that? And you're like, I guess there's nothing wrong with that. But what I mean by they use your vocabulary, not your dictionary, is that if you're a normal parent and you teach your, let's say, 6-year-old or 10-year-old about empathy, it's about putting yourself in someone else's shoes, think of someone else before yourself, think about how they feel. How would you like it if someone did that to you? But what they mean is that if you're a girl and a man walks in the bathroom and you get that reaction, you need to have empathy for him. You need to put yourself in his shoes. How would you like it if someone didn't let you use the bathroom? When I give that example, parents go, whoa, that's not what I mean by empathy. Right. But that's what they mean. And they know you don't know that's what they mean. This is why you have to understand language contamination. They use your vocabulary, but not your dictionary. So once you can understand that everything they're telling you is not through your lens, it's through a lens of a transgender cultist or someone that wants to separate your child, then you start to go, okay, when they say I support all children, you don't mean all children. You mean children that identify as the group that you deemed marginalized. I support all parents.
So how do you know the difference? Like, I have small children. I'm sorry, I have to stop you. Like, I have a 7-year-old. I literally just had this conversation with my 5-year-old. How would you like it if she did this to you? And I understand that they're bastardizing it, right? They're manipulating it and taking it to the extreme.
That's right.
So how do you, as a parent, instill these values without subverting your children and your family and your values, and like, this is the way that, this is the way that we do it, the Jones way, the Smith way? How do you know how far to go and how I I mean we're dealing with some very intense mental gymnastics that have, like you just mentioned, they've been laying the foundation to for decades. So how do you, what's the guardrail as a parent?
Well, that's why this is why if we always say if you can pull your kids, right? Because it's not an easy answer. But the answer, if you can't pull your kids, this is the answer. One of the answers anyway, is there's two things. And this is not going to solve the problem, but it's a big blood in the water for them. Okay. You have to get social emotional learning out of your schools, but you can't get it out of your schools because it's the culture. But there are two things that you can do that will put blood in the water. Okay. The first thing, you got to get them out of the data mining. You have to
Right,
get them out of the data mining because the data is the lifeblood. If even
right.
25% of schools say no more surveys, they're not, that money is going to not produce the numbers that they expect. If 25% of the kids can't take it, it's just a big mess for them. So if
And
you
it's, but
go,
this sounds just like COVID. This is just like COVID. This is
right,
the government's equation. They get
right.
the data, they use the data to drive the justification, they use those stats to drive the justification for the programs, for the funding, for the control, for the additional tracking and surveying. And okay, so go ahead. That just like triggered, popped in my
No,
head.
no, no. That's a good question. So the data. So here's how you get out of the data. You go to courageasahabit.org. You click on SDL surveys. We explain to you what the surveys do. I won't get into it here because of the time that we have, but it's basically a self-fulfilling prophecy. They take your children's data, they
Exactly.
manipulate it, they come back and say the school's really racist, is really oppressive, we need more SEL. And it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. You'll never achieve equity until the kids can't read, can't write, can't do anything except march.
Right.
So that's the self-fulfilling prophecy. This is why our school looks like this. They've been doing this now for about 8 to 10 years, 7 to 10 years, depending on where you are in the country. And every school's doing it. I know there are some people out there going, I live in a red state, in a red county. They're doing it too. I promise you, you cannot find me one school that isn't doing it. Send me your school. If you don't think you're doing it, we'll find it. So get them out of the data mining. So courageoushabit.org, click on SEL surveys, download any one of those items. Okay. I would download the first one because the first one explains it, and then we go down a little deeper. At the end of every tool, there's an opt-out form. You use that opt-out form. Parents have been using it with success across the country. Second thing you got to do, you have to make sure your children have no access to mental health professionals. And that brings me to the most important thing that anybody can do. You have to get kids away from school counselors. The school counselors is where a great majority of this trans ideology, this critical race theory, this anti-white, anti-American, yes, it's in the classroom. Yes, the teachers do it, but the school counselors are the mental health professionals. They are in charge of literally your children's mental health, and they drive your children's mental health towards social activism.